Hi guys, welcome back to Function Pilates. I'm Vanessa Kelly, founder of Function Pilates, located here in Tempe, Arizona. And I have to say, it's been a minute since I brought you guys a tower workout to this channel. And honestly, I know how rare these are. There's not a lot of tower content out there, which is kind of wild because this apparatus is so good. So we're back on the tower today, and I'm really excited about this one. If you're newer here, the tower uses the same spring system as the reformer, but instead of the carriage moving underneath you, the resistance is coming from above and from each of the sides of the tower. So the springs are independent, which can actually feel a little bit more challenging. A lot of the exercises will feel familiar, but your body's going to experience them very differently. And that's the whole point. So when you start exposing your body to the same movement in different ways, different angles, different feedback, you become much more of a complete mover. You start to notice things that you really didn't notice before, and you build strength and connection in places that were kind of getting missed. So as we go through this, I want you to pay attention to three things. First, what feels familiar? Some of these exercises you've done before, so just notice what feels the same and what suddenly feels very different. Number two, the direction of the resistance. On the reformer, you're used to pushing or pulling the carriage. Here, the springs are coming from different directions. So give your body a second to adjust. It's normal if it feels a little off at first. And third, control. The tower really rewards precision, so if you rush through it, you're gonna miss what makes it so valuable. So slow it down, breathe, and actually let the apparatus give you feedback. I'll call out spring settings so we can go through each of the exercises together and you can follow along on your tower at home. And also, drop a comment. Let me know how long you've been practicing Pilates. I would love to hear from everyone, and it really helps me to create better content for you guys. And if you're happy the tower is back, give the video a thumbs up. If you like this style of teaching, really understanding the why behind the exercises, the springs, the setup, that's exactly what we go deeper into inside the Function Pilates Teacher Training Academy. And for instructors who are ready for more, our Master Trainer licensing pathway is still open as well, and everything is gonna be linked below in that description box. All right, let's see what the tower brings up for us today. And if you're ready, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with a warm up here. So I'll have you guys lie down on your mat, and let's have you in a hook line position to begin with. So that's where your knees are bent and your feet are flat against the mat. We want to make sure that we're tracking nicely with our ankles to our knees, knees to our hips. And then maybe you want to glance at your feet so that they are parallel, not spreading apart here, okay? So from this position, let's start with some pelvic tilts. I'm going to have you take your arms beside you. And this pelvic tilts is where we're going to rock our pelvis all the way forward. So you're creating on purpose a large gap, a large arch in your back, and then you're going to overly imprint. You're gonna flatten your back as much as you possibly can into the mat here. And if you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll notice I start with this every single time because the goal is that we're starting to warm up our spine. We wanna just kind of get a little bit of movement occurring in the spine. And then also this is a great way to introduce where is that neutral spine today, okay? So we wanna have all the natural curves of our spine as we're going through each of those exercises, which honestly could be one of the most challenging things for us to do. It can take a really long time for us to really begin to understand that internal awareness of where our body is at in space. Okay, and then last time here, and relax it. We're gonna go into a couple mat exercises. So in this position, arms are down flat. Let's raise our left leg up into tabletop here. And energetically, I want you to point out through your toes, all right? You want to maintain the 90-degree angle behind the knee, so we don't wanna lose the shape here, meaning like it's going to drop. So you wanna have this beautiful 90-degree angle. From that position, pay attention to the hips. Do they naturally start to rotate or lift? Because let's go ahead and realign that, the pelvis as well. Begin to hinge from your left hip as you start to lower the leg down, but we don't want to lose our neutral spine here, okay? So if you begin to feel like your low back is arching, we've gone way too far. And then I want you to slowly bring that leg back up again. As we get into it, start to notice here how you can make the left leg incredibly heavy. Okay, I want it to feel heavy because I want the work to be initiated from those abdominal muscles here. So as you tighten and engage through your core, through your midsection, you're gonna feel the difference dramatically here, okay? So you were lowering for the inhale, we're exhaling to lift up again. And we're gonna go for another 3. And 2. Last time. And lift up. Beautiful. Let's set that foot down. Let's go ahead and bring that right leg up into that tabletop position, finding that 90-degree angle, taking a moment to feel your pelvis and where it is aligning here up against the mat. Energetically point through the toes. We inhale to tap down, and then exhale, we lift the leg back up again. So careful not to drive that knee deep into the chest. We want to, again, pause where that knee is directly over the hip. And inhale to lower. Again, focus on that neutral spine. We're creating this heaviness in through our leg so that we can naturally begin to lift with our core. And we inhale to lower and exhale to lift. Now there's 4 components that make up the core here. So we have our pelvic floor. So we want to really ignite through the pelvic floor. We have our diaphragm. So we're using that breath to, again, activate through the core. And we're also using the deepest ab stabilizers, which is the transverse abdominis, and the deepest back stabilizers, which is the multifidus. So all 4 of those are the key components that make up the core. So it's not just abs, which is a misconception a lot of the times. That's what people think. Let's do one more here. Inhale, and then we exhale here. Hold. Now we're gonna add in marching, which is basically having both legs move simultaneously. So I'm going to pop up on top of my left toes, and then I'm gonna begin to switch the legs here in midair. So you're maintaining that 90-degree angle behind the knee, which all of a sudden makes this a lot more challenging in order to maintain pelvic stability here. So you should feel your abs light up instantly as you're doing this. And if you're not, let's challenge you to not touch the floor and to push your low back down, maintain that connection as you are switching out the legs here. We're gonna go for 4 and continue to breathe for 3. And let's go for 2. Nice and slow, we have 1. Let's bring them back together, hold them as a unit. So now we're in our tabletop position and we're going to float together here. So they're gonna lower down and then they're going to lift up. So we're lowering down. I'm not even going very far, okay? Because if I go far, my body already knows it's going to be compromised and I'm gonna lose that neutral spine position. So maintain the integrity of your spine here as best as you possibly can to benefit yourself in these exercises. Good, let's take it away for another 4. Exhale, lift up. We're inhaling to lower for 3. Exhale, lift up. Inhale, lower for 2. Again, very strong, very energetic tabletop here. We don't want it to be floppy or just not feeling it the way we should be. Last time. Good. Let's bring those knees into the chest. Give yourself a little hug, and you can see the progression that was made there as we started with our single leg lifts, went to marching, and then did our double lower and lifts here. Main reason is, I'm gonna go ahead and hop up and start with our footwork. I'm gonna keep talking though. Main reason is because we want to start to warm up the spine here. All right, we want to warm up the midsection, our core, so that we can really start to feel all of this work as we go into our full body workouts. Okay, so I'm going to set ourselves up for footwork, and let's see, we're using the push through bar here, and we're going to, I'm gonna go back on the second loop. So you guys kind of know where these these loopholes are at. This is basically to adjust to your height, to adjust to your flexibility. So if you're like, I'm really tight today, I would go up higher than opposed to going down as low as possible. If you're like, I'm really feeling great, I can use the challenge, I would go lower. It's going to drop down this push through bar a little closer to you, which means that you have extra range of motion as you're applying and pushing the legs up here. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and grab a hold of I'm going to bottom load it here. So with Balance Body, I have a red spring, which is basically a medium spring. So find that medium spring for yourself. And I'm going to also load it up with a blue spring, which is our light spring. And also, you always want to set this up where you're coming over to the side and attaching those spring systems on. So I'm just making some adjustments here to make sure the upholstery is nice and safe. It's not going to get not overly used by the springs here. Okay, so there's two variations we can do with footwork. I'm going to keep it on the beginner side today since this is more Tower 101. I'm going to adjust myself on this side of the tower unit, or I should say this side of the push-through bar, so that I could not intensely feel like I'm stretching out the hamstrings or my low back. The other way, I would say the more intermediate way, would be have your head over on this side. Again, that's for another video, another day. But let's go ahead and get comfortable where you're going to lie yourself down and you want to adjust yourself so that your hips are pretty much below the foot bar, but we'll make some adjustments. Go ahead and carefully just press up for me. We're using all the same foot variations that I frequently use in Reformer and applying them here onto the tower unit. So I'm pretty happy with my position, feels good, and it doesn't have any pressure on my low back. So I'm gonna start on my heels. Let's go and relax those arms. And actually, let me just straighten out a little bit. So double check your form before you get going. And as you pull those toes towards you, you're gonna go ahead and bend the knees as you inhale. We're gonna exhale to press up. So as you do this, I want you to pay attention what's happening to your knees, because a lot of times we like to come in quite far towards our chest, but then our knees will splay outward, okay? So I'm exaggerating here, I'm doing this on purpose, but it will happen a little bit more naturally for you, especially if you are not intentional about really feeling where that muscle focus is at. So let's go ahead and continue. We're gonna exhale, press out, inhale to soften and bend the knees. And as we're doing this, also, I want you to feel like the work is coming from the back side of your legs. So a very different muscle focus than just the Reformer, right? And also the chair, I would say. So in tower, let's just do one more here, press. Let's come down to our toes. Let's go ahead, stay parallel, point up through those toes, really challenge your ankles, and then start to, again, bend and press. So what I was saying, in tower, our muscle focus here is the hamstrings. It is helping to strengthen the ankles, the knees, and the hips, just like we do in Reformer, but the muscle focus changes quite dramatically here. And extend, press. Good. And I love this because you can see your alignment. It's so good. Whereas in Reformer, you have to pick up your head and pay attention. Where this, you naturally can see, what are my feet doing? Are they turning inward, where I'm putting more pressure on the big toes, or are they actually going out to the sides, to more of like the pinky side of my foot? Good, let's do one more. Inhale here, exhale, press up. Good. Then we're gonna go ahead and kind of slide that safety strap out of the way. And you're gonna go heels together, toes apart. In your Pilates V, you're gonna bend, exhale, press up. So again, you're gonna feel those inner thighs activating here as we hold our Pilates V. And then you can see which heel are you pressing more into, because are they perfectly aligned through your midline, or is your Pilates V favored more to the left or right? Because you're gonna see where your heels are naturally pushing together. Good. And then I would advise you guys to keep your knees in line with your shoulders. especially if you're so used to having a huge turnout. Challenge yourself to bring that frame a little bit more inward. And exhale, press. Good, let's take it here for another 2. And last time. Good. Let's come up to your heels, a nice wide position. Just like that, flex through your feet. Have the heels press up against that foot bar, and then we're bending and extending. So, lots of different things that we're feeling here. Plus, it's such a good way to work your lymphatic system. So, having your legs straight up like this for this extended period of time, as we do about 50, 60 repetitions here, it's quite nice. It's quite different for our bodies, right? It's not used to feeling that. Especially if you have circulation issues or you get a little bit more swelling, such a great way to integrate this. And press. Take it for 3. And 2. Keep those feet flexed. Last time. Good. Let's go down to our toes, just like that. Let's go ahead and pop those heels up high. Maintain that alignment with your ankle and continue. And press. Nice. Such a good way to challenge the body, especially if you've been doing Reformer for quite some time. It's good to experience all the different apparatuses, honestly. And because we get so comfortable, it's like a good way to not plateau, right? And to explore other areas and the benefits of Pilates that was wonderfully developed by Joseph Pilates. And extend. Let's do again here for 2. And let's do 1 more. Okay, let's come back to the center, about hip distance apart there with the feet. We're in our parallel position. We're gonna go into calf raises. So you're gonna flex your feet and then point your toes. Flexing your feet and pointing your toes. Good. So a little bit different than obviously working on the Reformer and the foot bar. The pressure and the actual awareness of the muscle firing up is completely different. It has such a different sensation, and you may even start to feel like your ankles are working harder or activating quicker. Good. Let's go here for another 3 and 2 and 1 more time. Hold it there. Let's finish it off with our Prances. So you're going to bend into your right knee, lengthen out of your left heel, really feel that stretch. Feels great. Come back to 2 straight legs. Let's bend through that left knee. Push your right heel towards the ceiling. Hold it for a moment to really lengthen and stretch out that calf. And then come back to 2 straight legs. All right, let's pick up the pace. So we bend, straighten, bend, straighten. Really good if you have weak ankles, weak intrinsic muscles of the feet. This is not going to lie or cheat you out. You are going to feel these benefits, and it's going to be in such a good way for you, especially if you're working on your balance. Yeah, I would just say good for balance, like especially if you have osteoporosis, osteopenia, really nice to be working those ankles. 1 more each way. And let's slowly begin to bend your knees, and then you can drop that foot bar down. Woo, all right. So legs are warm. Core should be warm from our warm up in the beginning, and then you guys can sit yourself up. We're gonna go into our abdominal series here. So with that, I'm gonna take this red spring off first. Don't need it, because right now we're in bottom loaded. We're going to come up to top loaded here for this next exercise. So let's remove this. And then we can remove the safety strap. Is the last thing that we remove when it's bottom loaded. All right. And then I like to put this away so it's out of my way. I don't like to have it just hanging there. And then I'm going to grab, I'm gonna actually grab the blue spring here, which is the lighter spring, and then I'm going to attach it to the very highest eyelet here of the tower unit. Grab your push through bar, attach, just like that. Okay, so once we're all set up, you're gonna go ahead and lie on your back, and we're gonna get into some chest lifts, just like we normally have done in a mat exercise. So grab a hold of that push through bar, just double check your space on where you're at. And then again, we wanna have the wrist just above our shoulders here. Okay, so with this exercise, try to avoid letting the bar and the springs pull you up. Let's get this work done in our midsection, okay? So feet are flat, we're in this hook line position. We're not coming up all the way, so we're gonna inhale to prepare, exhale, flex, and you're lifting to about where your shoulder blades are at here, okay? And then you're gonna lower yourself back down again. So it's really easy to let that spring naturally pull you up. So I wanna challenge you guys to think of yourself doing this just with your own body, okay? Like if you were actually doing this with a mat exercise. Exhale. Look down at your belly button to keep your neck in good alignment so that we're not playing that game of limbo with the neck. And then, as another additional layering here, I want you to think about not shrugging your shoulders up. So can you plug those shoulders down and back and release it? So you're flexing through the spine ever so gently. Pull your belly button away from your pants and start to lower back down again. Let's take it for 4. Again, this is more of a beginner version. The way I have my legs set up in hook line, I could always take this into tabletop and make this a little bit more intermediate. 2 more. Exhale. Again, you're lifting with your chest, not with your neck or your head. So I hope that makes sense. Last time. Curl and lower it down. Beautiful. We're gonna take this into rotation, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and flip my right hand so that the palm is looking at me, and take my left hand and I'm going to take it behind my back, or my back of my head, I should say. We're adding in rotation, so you're going to rotate to the opposite direction of the arm that's holding onto the bar. So inhale here and exhale, we rotate to the left, come back through center. And again, we lift, we rotate to the left, and then back through center. Really think about relaxing your right shoulder as you do this, and then plugging your left shoulder back so you're not pulling on your neck. And then another popular occurrence is the hips. Are they moving and shifting? Because if they are, how can we apply more pelvic stability? We want to use our pelvic floor to lift up so that you can really keep your hips super quiet here. And let's take it for 3. Good way to emphasize the obliques. And 2. And 1 more time. And then return. Let's come bring back. Carefully, let's take the left hand, find your push through bar so the palm is looking at you. And you want to keep your arms straight, which I failed to mention in that first round, but let's talk about it now. So from here, we're going to go ahead and rotate to the right. So you're just lifting your chest. You're not bending your left arm, and return. Same idea like we did with our first exercise in chest lift, is that you are using your abs to lift you up. You're not lifting with your head or your neck. And it's a new side, so let's take inventory. What are our hips doing? Are they moving on us as we begin to rotate? Really common. And maybe you're rotating too far. There is such a thing. So let's bring that back in so that we can lessen the range of motion, and this way you can benefit from the exercise here. 3, and back down, and 2, and maybe one side feels a little bit more random or just feels awkward because, again, because of all of our rotational things that occur in our spine and our posture, that plays a huge part. And then pause right there. Okay, so beautiful job. Abs are warm. Let's take into a roll up, an assisted roll up with the push through bar. So legs are going out nice and long. Let's again energetically point through those toes. We're gonna inhale to lift the head and the chest. On the exhale, we're lifting ourselves all the way up to a seated position. And then we're gonna exhale, scoop through the belly, articulating through the spine, lower yourself gently, head being the last thing to come all the way down. Okay, and again, we lift, especially if you have trouble with the roll up in mat. This is such a great way to assist your body in learning each of the muscles to activate. Good, lift up and all the way to the top, nice and slow. Again, we're emphasizing the speed so that you're in control. You're creating that internal heat and can feel that engagement in your midsection. Exhale. And close those ribs, lower it back down. Let's do this one more time, guys. And let's lift. And then lower it all the way. Good job. Okay, let's go ahead and let that go carefully. And we can sit ourselves up. We're gonna go right into our hip work here, okay? So I'm already set up for this, and I'm gonna be using the purple springs, which on Balanced Body, this is the heavier spring load. So if you're like, I just don't wanna have heavier springs today, then I would recommend that you go with the lighter springs. So with Balanced Body, it's gonna be the long yellow springs. So if you're working on a different piece of equipment at home, you will know which ones are gonna be intentional for you today. So I'm going heavy with mine, and they're at already the eyelet that I want, which is basically right in the middle here of the tower unit. From that point, you're gonna go ahead and start to lie down on your back. And to get yourself in position, I go about an arm's distance away from the tower unit to find the right type of resistance for my body. So that's the rule of thumb. You can always adjust yourself afterwards. If you're like, this is way too easy, way too hard, you can make those adjustments. But if you're trying to decide, where do I even start? That's your starting point. Okay, let's go ahead and, again, these are independent springs. It's gonna feel so different than the Reformer, but it's so good. Let's start with frog here, okay? Let's keep it nice and generic and with the foundations. Heels together, toes apart, tailbone is grounded. We're going to push out to 2 straight legs and then return back in again. Very different than the Reformer too. You are pressing out in parallel to the floor. And what I mean by that is that you're not pushing up. In Reformer, we have a tendency to push outward. This is gonna be very different. In order for you to feel this work, you're going to press out like if you are even with the mat and with the floor here. So you're gonna feel those inner thighs kick on instantly. And exhale. And inhale to bend. Let's take it for 5. Same muscle focus, inner thighs. You're gonna feel those adductors working. 4. This is all hip strengthening. 3. And 2. And last time. Hold it right there. We're gonna begin to go ahead and to our circles. So I'm going to separate the heels and then lift all the way back up to my 90 degrees. Exhale, press, separate, and lift. If you feel like your body is moving like so much, it's probably because the resistance is too heavy for you. So I would advise scooting back so that you're not being dominated by the springs, that you're the one in control with this. And for those of you guys that you're feeling that, you'll understand what I mean. And circle. And again, we're creating more synovial fluid at our hip joints. So really nice to feel that resistance. Thinking about pressing equally into your loops here as well. And such a great way, again, to pay attention to which side is opening up more than the other side. Last time, come back up to the top here, and let's go ahead and reverse it. So from here, we're gonna go out first, squeezing those inner thighs together. Inhale, bring it back up. We're going out, circle, and back up. If you need a little bit more pelvic stability, I like to always take my hands right there, just like below my belly button, to remind myself to reduce the Elvis and the pelvis, if you should say. And take it around. Beautiful. And exhaling, circle. If you guys will notice too, when I program here, I'm taking every single of these workouts, whether I'm working on the reformer, the chair, the tower unit, and we are following the progressive flow that we do inside the Teacher Training Academy. And bring it back up. Let's do one more. And circle. Excellent. Okay, we're gonna go into a little bit of walking here. So arms are down beside me again. I'm gonna walk the right foot down a little bit, with the left foot a little further, and then the right, and then the left. Hold. This is gonna challenge your neutral spine here. Let's walk ourselves back up again. So left, right, left, right. Good. Right, left, right, and left. You got it. Left, right, keep breathing. Left and right. Right, left, right, and left. Good, keep that breath going. Know those inner thighs should be feeling this. Yes, you're like, I know, are we done yet? One more time. And down, and down, down. Good, up, 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 and up. Awesome job, guys. Okay, let's carefully remove those loops out from underneath us. And then you don't have to, as long as your roll-up bar is already set up, I don't think you need to sit up here. So I'm just scooting myself back, and then I have my roll-up bar already prepared here, okay? So hip distance apart, we're going into spinal articulation. So we're gonna be bridging with the roll-up bar. So let's inhale to prepare. And on that exhale, let's lift the hips as we drop the arms towards the hips here. Hold. And then start to slowly release everything all together. Good. So we're getting some triceps, we're getting some lat activation, you're feeling your glutes, you're feeling your hamstrings, and release everything. Good. Really great for building pelvic stability as well. Drop those shoulders away from your ears. And are you equally applying pressure into the bar so that you can naturally feel your left and right tricep? And slowly starting to release. Beautiful. Think about pressing your feet firmly as they root into the mat. Lengthen your hip flexors. So think about, as we hold here, you're reaching your kneecaps away from your body, and then relax everything down. Let's do this 2 more times. And we lift. Good. And lower. And last time, we lift. Hold it right here. There's so many fun stuff we can do to add to this, but I want to keep this basic and simple. One more breath, and then start to release and lower. Yes. Okay, let's carefully release all of that, and we're gonna sit ourselves up, and we're gonna go into a stretch here. All right, so the push-through bar is what I'm gonna use in this next stretch. We're going to be kneeling, so if you need to have any type of knee pad, go ahead and grab that. And with this push through bar, I want you to carefully hold on to the tower unit. You'll come to a position where you're about hip distance apart with the knees, and then we'll take our left foot right to the push through bar, okay? So from here, we're going to lean our hips forward. So you wanna reach your hips towards the tower unit here. And with that being said, you're in charge of your stretch. You should feel your right hip flexor stretching in front of you. And then let's go ahead and do a little double take here, like rotating and squaring out the pelvis as much as possible to feel that deeper hip flexor in the psoas. Yeah, so think of left hip dropping down, right hip reaching forward, like get a little taller through your body. Yes, and breathe. And then let's add in the hamstrings. So you can just straighten out through your left leg. Again, you're in charge of this. So if you want more, lean your body towards it, but try to square out your hips as much as possible to get the benefit of the hamstring stretch. And then let's go ahead and bend that. Let's try this one more time. So chest is lifted, hips are forward. Feel that hip flexor stretch. And then let's go ahead and straighten out the left leg. It turns right into a hamstring stretch. Lean into it. Make some adjustments with your pelvis if need be. And then let's bring yourself back in again. Really good. Okay, let's try that the other side. So again, line up your knees before you lift your right foot. Let's take that right toes, top of the foot bar. And we're going into our kneeling lunge. So shift your hips, your weight forward. Get a nice stretch there through the psoas. Good. Try to, again, play with it. Move your hips a little bit so you can kind of just distinguish where the right positioning of your pelvis has to be. And then we're going to go ahead and extend your right leg, going right into your hamstring stretch. Again, drop your right hip. Think of the back of the right knee reaching towards the floor. And then let's bend, lean into it. And then let's go ahead and straighten out the leg. Right hip is down. Very good. And then we'll carefully go ahead and bring that back in. So from here, we're gonna move into our full body work, one exercise, and this is gonna be a spine stretch forward. So I'm gonna grab a hold of it, top loaded again. I'm still on a light spring. This one is also could be done with a medium spring. So if you guys wanna add extra assistance, so adding more weight will provide more assistance on your end here, okay? So let's go ahead and sit facing our push through bar here. And we're gonna go ahead and lean back. So 2 straight arms here. And I want your feet pressing up against the poles so you're in a dorsiflex position. And then you're going to slowly roll down. So chin to chest, and you're gonna exhale, just dive yourself forward all the way as you go into this forward fold. You can feel naturally the backs of your legs stretching. So if you didn't get the hamstring stretch on the last exercise, you certainly are now. And then with control, let's go ahead and scoop the belly. We're really trying to control the spring so the spring doesn't control us, and bring ourselves forward. Lean into it to feel more of a stretch through your back, like you're extending your back to get a stretch there and to strengthen the upper back. And then you're gonna go ahead and grip that roll up or the push through bar again, naturally, chin to chest. Use your abs as you dive yourself through. Good. And then slowly, let's bring yourself back. And you notice how I'm just going very controlled, really methodical with this movement because I don't want to rush through it. The faster I go, the easier this becomes. And I want to create some of this heat inside my body here. And again, use your abs to press it forward. If you feel your arms bending at all, you know you've compromised and you're trying to use other parts of the body to make this happen. Good, and let's go ahead and reach. Nice. And then let's go ahead back to neutral. And we're gonna go ahead and add in a little bit of a rotation here. So with this, we can hold, we're leaning back or feet up against the poles, release the left hand, turn the palm up, get a nice little stretch back. Look over your fingertips, and then I want you to think of your arm being so heavy, you're gonna pull yourself back through center. Grab a hold of it. Right arm, we reach, look over the fingertips. Feel that stretch as you extend the spine, maybe puff your chest up, and then slowly you're gonna pull it back in because we're trying to emphasize the obliques here. Last time, you're gonna go over to the left, feel this heaviness, exhale back through center, and inhale to open to the right, and then exhale back through center. Beautiful. Okay, let's go ahead and bring that up, and we're going to go ahead and take this away. We're going into some arm exercises. So with that, I am moving my blue spring out of the way because I'm going to adjust my arm springs. So we use these purple springs, our heavy leg springs, for our hip work. I'm still gonna use them for my arm work, okay? So I'm gonna bring them all the way up here. And the top is eyelet possible. And then you're going to go ahead and step on top of your tower unit here. So with our hands in the loops, we're gonna take a giant step forward. With this one, you wanna also, again, lean into it so that you don't feel like the springs are gonna pull you back. So again, I'm gonna kind of be right about here because I am working with heavier springs, and we're gonna go into a hugged tree position. So you're gonna pull those fingertips together and then apart here. So you wanna really ground through your feet, draw your abs in and open. And you can do this with your loops or you can do this with your handles, either which way. And again, I am standing today. It's lots of different variations that we can do our arm work, but this is focusing on the front of our chest, those pectoral muscles. And we're gonna exhale here for 3 and 2 and 1. And then bring it back in. Nice, okay. Let's go into serving. So we're gonna have our elbows in next to our body, and then I'm gonna have you go ahead and straighten your arms and then bend. And straighten and bend. So if you feel like you're kind of being pulled with those springs, use your abs a little bit more to basically help stabilize the body. And take it here for another 5 and 4, 3, 2, last time. And relax it. Good. Okay, let's go into a little bit of triceps here. So we're gonna go ahead and take our hands right by where our eyebrows are at, and then we're going to lean into it, and you're going to straighten your arms where the wall and the ceiling meet is where I like to say that, but you're not looking up at that area. So again, keep your neck in line with your torso. And again, notice these are independent springs. So you know what your weak side is, you know where you're more dominant, and if you can feel those springs moving a little bit more on you, it's just speaking to you. That's okay. Let's take it for 5. Try to stay tall. Try not to collapse through the spine. 4. This is working the back of those arms. 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. And let's bring it down. Okay, let's turn ourselves around. We're gonna go into chest expansion. So we're facing now the tower unit. Hip distance apart there with the feet, nice and tall, shoulders back. Let's go ahead and exhale, press. And again, these are heavy. I'm not going very far, but I'm feeling a lot, and that's okay. 8, shoulders down, 7, 6, and 5, and 4. Can you also think about, are you feeling this equally on both sides? Do we need to roll those shoulders back a little bit? Keep them plugged there in that alignment and work through the muscle. Feels a lot different. Last time. Good. Okay, one more variation here. Let's go into a little bit of biceps with some squats here, okay? So you're here, hip distance apart. I'm gonna lean back so I'm supported by my springs, and I wanna puff my chest up so like I'm sitting in a small chair, okay? I'm gonna keep my bicep the way it is, and I'm gonna stand up, and then I'm gonna squat back down. Stand up and squat back down. So really important here, guys. Let's pay attention to what those knees are doing, that we're not this way, that we are back, that the knees are gonna stay over those ankles, and you're pushing from your heels so you can feel your glutes working. So a little bit of full body work here, right? Biceps are working, glutes are working. So many great benefits. 3, 2, and last time. Excellent. Woo, nice work. Okay, let's go ahead and bring that down. And we're gonna go into some side lifts, so we're going into some lateral flexion here. I'm using the roll-up bar with this exercise. Okay, so this one we're gonna go ahead and let's do bottom leg in front, top leg in the back. You're going to bring that roll-up bar with you, find it in the center for balance, and let's take your left arm all the way down. Use your feet against the tower for leverage. You're gonna want to, okay? Now, let's bring your left ear to your bicep, and we're going to lift our body up. I don't want you to rely so much on the springs, but keep your ear connected and glued to your bicep. Okay, so inhale to prepare, and then exhale, we're going to lift ourselves up, okay? You're not pulling on this, you're keeping it straight, and then you're lowering down. So that's why I said it's so important to push your feet against the poles to feel like you can actually get some height here. And exhale, lift and lower. Nice oblique work, right? Lift and lower. Let's take it here for 3. And 2. Good, last time. And exhale. And lower. Ooh, good job. Okay, let's take it to the other side. So carefully switch, and you're gonna stack those hips again, find that leverage with your feet, right ear against your right bicep. And then when you're ready, take an inhale here, and then exhale. And down. And down. New side. Be really patient with yourself too as you are exploring a new side. And if this is a new exercise for you too, be patient with yourself. Sometimes it's more about the coordination than anything. And let's take it for 4. And 3. And 2. Good job. Last time. And down. Good work, guys. Carefully go ahead and release that. And we're gonna end it with our extension work. So focus on the upper back. And let's see here. I'm using my blue spring again, so my light spring. And going to the top eyelet. We're gonna go ahead and connect that. And you guys are gonna find yourself on your stomach. So grab a hold of your push-through bar, take it with you. Let's go to the stomach and come about an arm's distance away from the push-through. This is extension work, so I'm a big fan of separating the legs here, but I want them to still feel very energetic. Let's keep your fingertips reaching forward as you press your palms into the push-through bar. Okay, so as we prepare, we're gonna take our inhale, lift our head and chest up, eyesight on the mat, guys, and start to exhale, lower everything back down again. So the reason why I emphasize that so much about eyesight on the mat is because we have a tendency to look up and we're breaking the neck when we do that, okay? So we want that cervical spine to be right in line with the rest of our torso. And let's go ahead, get a little deeper. Can we move those shoulder blades down your back pockets? Like feel that work and then lower it down. And let's lift for 6, inhaling. And exhale. And 5. Feel that upper body work, maybe a low back stretch. Energize through the backs of your legs, supporting your core. So pelvic floor is playing a part here. Your breath, your deepest back stabilizers, and your deepest ab stabilizer. Good. 2 more. Lift. Shoulder blades are the first thing to move down those back pockets. And lower down. 1 more. And slowly release it. Good. If you can carefully go ahead and let that bar come up. Go ahead and do that. And push yourself back. Maybe take a little child's pose there. Those are a little bit more intense, those extensions. That's called swan than it is on the reformer. So how did that feel? Okay. We're ending it with a couple roll downs here, guys, okay? So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and start with hip distance apart there with the feet. Let's move those arms up. Start to dive yourself down all the way. Reach, 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 reach. How's you feeling? Relax your neck and shoulder. Starting to rebuild the spine. Shoulders all the way down. 1 more time. Reach those arms all the way up. Take a dive forward. Just listen to your breath. Listen to your body. Checking in how it's feeling now from the beginning. Use your abdominal muscles to intentionally help you rebuild into a nice, tall, strong posture. Okay, guys, so fun today. So fun to be back on the tower. Let me know what you are, how your body's feeling. Let me know, how long have you been doing Pilates? Or is this your first time doing tower? Leave that in the comments. I would love to genuinely have like a conversation about that kind of stuff with you guys. Thank you so much for your support. I will see you next week for another workout.